Hello my lovely ravens, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today I am going to create the house elf living quarters that you can see in Hogwarts Legacy and that is also mentioned in the Harry Potter books. Well, mentioned thus far that we know that the house elves make and serve the food in Hogwarts. Most of the elements that I'm using for this diorama is going to be already made. So this little box is already made. I bought this in the store just like this. I will try and find a similar one on Amazon and link it down below. I am using these foam sheets to make the walls. And then as you could see earlier, I have these barrels and boxes that someone once gifted me quite a while ago. And they are 3D printed. So they're not resin, but they PLA printed with a 3D printer. One day, I hope to get my own 3D printer so I can make little elements like these ones for my dioramas, which make my life a lot easier. So first I'm going to start with the background, obviously, because we can't really paint that when everything is inside. And I'm just cutting these sheets. They're just craft foam sheets to size. Rolling on with the roller. I will link everything down below that I can find, all the products that I'm using. And then I'm cutting everything to size as much as I can. This piece of paper is going to be the arch that is at the very top. That is basically going to obscure the lights that I'm going to put inside the diorama. The house elves made their living quarters for themselves from wine barrels in the kitchens underneath the Great Hall. And if you haven't been to the kitchens in Hogwarts Legacy yet, fast travel with the Floo network to the grand staircase and go down the spiral staircase. At the base, you will see a painting with a pear on your left. Once you go through, you can find the house elf living quarters in the far right corner in the kitchens. As you could see, I painted everything black just as a base layer, so everything goes matte instead of shiny, and the outside of the box needed to be black as well, just to tie in with the theme. And then the inside I am going over with a white before I go over with all these brown kind of colors. They're kind of yellowy, mustardy, and brown, reddish tints. And I'm going over the entire surface, just dry brushing. And dry brushing is when you dip your paintbrush in the paint, rub off most of it on a paper towel or a piece of paper, and then go over the surface that you want to dry brush. And you do this as often as you want it to whatever level of paint you want on there. Behind this arch, I'm gluing with hot glue this piece of wire with the string lights onto it, and I'm just holding it down with my 1, 2, 3 blocks. These things have been a lifesaver. They are so handy for making miniatures. And then gluing that block with a battery pack at the back, and then trying to put that other piece of wire away behind it as well. And on top of the battery pack, I've also put a piece of that foam board as well, just to make it look like it kind of blends in. Then onto painting the barrels. This took 3 evenings for me to paint. There was a lot of paint going onto it, and first I'm painting all the barrels and crates with a brush on primer, just so that the paint will stick to the surface. In the same box that I stored all these boxes and barrels in, I also found these books, the stacks of books, and I could also see that in the Hogwarts Legacy kitchen, so I thought, why not add them in as well? Later on, you will also see some skulls. They were sent to me by my friend Kristen in America, and thank you, Kristen. And I thought they were a good addition as well to add to this little diorama, because it is little. It's about D&D size, I think. With a strong tone shade, I am going over so all the nooks and crannies get this darker undertone, and then later I'm going over this surface again because it leaves behind a shiny surface, and I don't want my barrels and my crates to be shiny. So that's what I'm doing. And then the metal elements, which bring everything together, I'm doing here, and then going over that metal surface with a black again to dull it down, because obviously it's been in the kitchen, it's been, you know, dusty and whatnot. So that adds that element of realism. Onto the little books. I wanted them to be as authentic as possible, so I'm using duller colors, so a duller red and a duller blue, a duller purple, and the green as well that you can see on the screen there in the palette, just to keep this as realistic as possible. I don't know if I filmed this, but in the end, I watered down some brown acrylic. I think it's called Heavy Sienna by WizKids. And I paint a watered down layer over all the books to dull the colors even more. With my laser cutter, I cut these little windows. I think they look adorable. I had no idea how else to do the windows, so I opted for this solution, and I'm going to glue them on with some hot glue after I've painted them. So the base layer, that is that dark brown, is that Heavy Sienna again, and then I'm brushing over, I think it's an ivory color. They are all miniature acrylic paints. Then over all the parts in between the windows, I paint on this silver, which I dull down later because it is way too bright for this diorama. It needs to be like the wine barrels with the black over it. Then here I'm making a shelf because I wanted to have two barrels a little bit higher sitting on a shelf. And I'm just making that out of popsicle sticks. And these ones are the ones that I used in the beginning of this video when I had the miniatures, like the books and the barrels, glued to these popsicle sticks. I had them just glued on there with super glue. They just pop right off when you're done painting. That is, they will not stay on there permanently. Then here I am creating the lines where what you can see in the very beginning of this video, where there's some a cloth hanging. I think it's cleaning cloth or dish rags or something like that is drying on these pieces. So I have just some pieces of cotton here, and I'm going to just drape them over, glue them down with some glue stick, and then I don't film this, but I age them up a little bit with watercolor paint. So you wet the rags as they are on the string, and then add some brown watercolor paint, and that worked just perfectly. For this shelf, I carved out a piece where it was supposed to be going, just to make sure that it actually stays in place, and I glued that in with hot glue, as I did with all the other pieces, because it works fantastic on the foam. It grips immediately. Then putting all the windows in place with hot glue and just some tweezers so I don't burn my hands, because these pieces are tiny. Adding some golden doorknobs, I attached these with wood glue just to make sure that they actually stay in place, and adding some final details to the diorama, like this straw and some pieces of foam moss. And also some black tea just to represent soil or dirt that is gathered on the floor. Now let's have a look at the final diorama. And this is it for the final diorama. Even though I didn't sculpt or create much myself in this video, I am still really happy with the result. Also, this took me just as long as when I make something myself, just because of the amount of painting that was involved. If you think of any other setting or buildings that you would like to see me create from Hogwarts Legacy, please leave a comment down below. All my social media can be found in the description box below, and if you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and of course, become part of the Raven family. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!